and welcome back. Joining us for our second conversation is Mayor Darrell Bradley, here to talk to us about an upcoming telethon to raise funds for victims of Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning. It's such a pleasure being here, and we always thank you for the opportunity for allowing us to be on the show.
Definitely. Now, the devastation of Hurricane Maria has been a gradual one. Initially, we know that the hurricane had affected, it took the lives of 16 people, and now the death count is up to, I think, 45. And that just speaks to the level of devastation that the hurricane left in the country. Talk to us about any updates that you have coming out of the country that sparked the desire to have this telethon.
Well, I just want to first make a correction that it's geared towards the Commonwealth Caribbean.
Okay.
So that we're looking at countries like Dominica, we're looking at countries like Antigua and Barbuda.
Oh.
And one of the reasons why this emerges is because as a Caribbean nation, we have a lot of affinities. At the local government level, we have a lot of affinities. One of the agencies partnering with this event is the Caribbean Association of Judicial Officers. And so there's a lot of regional linkages. And we just saw the images. We were saddened by the catastrophic destruction. I remember looking at the television and I saw the Prime Minister of Dominica speak about the devastation. I've been getting some WhatsApp message from the President of the Caribbean Association of Local Government Authorities, who is from Dominica, and he was just telling us that a significant amount of the island has experienced catastrophic loss. So what we decided to do, they come together with the Belize Evangelical Association, together with the Belize Bar Association, the Belize City Council, the Love Foundation, and the Caribbean Association of Judicial Officers, decided to come together to do an activity to generate funds to aid the victims of the recent spate of hurricanes in the Caribbean, particularly with that focus on Dominica, Antigua, and Barbuda, and our Caribbean or CARICOM brothers and sisters. So the idea is that on the 21st, which is next week Saturday, we're going to have an all-day telethon from 9 o'clock in the morning to 5 in the evening at the Bliss Institute. We're going to have entertainment, we're going to have a lot of volunteers, and we are encouraging people to give their pledges. You can give your pledges from now, and then also you can give your pledges at the day of the event, entertainment, activity. But one of the things that we are trying to emphasize is that we oftentimes ourselves suffer from devastating effects as a result of hurricanes. And so when our brothers and sisters in the Caribbean are in need, we have an obligation to come together as a country and as a community and to assist.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I share your sentiment. I think we spoke of that this morning, the idea of so many families across the Caribbean having to start back from scratch. It's a sad situation, and I can only imagine how overwhelmed they may feel.
But I was taken aback by the statistics coming out of Barbuda, that you have a small island of 1,600 people and 1,400 people have to be evacuated. I was watching the earlier segment and they were talking about the impact on women during the spate of hurricanes. You can look at the impact. I think Anne-Marie was sharing with us, because we had a planning meeting yesterday, that about 500,000 young girls have been affected regionally. So that's a significant amount in terms of displacement, and those people need resources to build back their lives, to get their society and their community back in a workable shape, so that they can continue to experience a good quality of life.
We find that over the past couple of years, there's been a move towards collecting primarily money for relief efforts rather than goods. Let's talk a bit about that. That is the purpose of the telethon. It's raising money to be able to send to the islands.
Well, one of the things is that we reached out to people who were doing similar types of activities, and the City Council, together with some of the other organizations. I know that the Council of Churches and the Evangelical Association routinely assess when there is disaster in the region. And one of the things that we have repeatedly heard is that it's very difficult sometimes in terms of sending relief supplies, because you may send things that people don't necessarily need. I myself, being a part of the City Emergency Management Organization, we're familiar with that. Sometimes people send you pieces of equipment or items of food or stuff like that, and you don't necessarily need that. For
Yeah.
example, you may give somebody a sack of beans, but they don't have any gas in a hurricane, so they can't use the item.
Yeah.
So that one of the pieces of information that came out is that the best relief effort is just to send money. And one of the things that we're doing is that we have already communicated with the Red Cross in Belize, and they will be the conduit agency to transmit all the funding that will be raised from the telethon directly to the countries that have been identified in the region who will get the relief effort. So that it'll be something that when we raise the funds from here, it will be channeled through our Red Cross to their Red Cross.
And can you talk to us a little bit about the different areas that the money will be used? Because I know that there are a lot of different areas that have been affected, like healthcare, food, and people's houses have just completely obliterated. So tell us about how the money will be, well, if you do know.
Well, then in terms of the Red Cross, they have certain key areas of priority, so that any area that is devastated as a result of hurricane, immediately you would need things like basic food stuff. You would need things like clothing. You would need bedding equipment. You would be surprised that when we had our recent hurricane in November of last year, people were asking for kids' toys. They were asking for Pampers, like milk for children, because everything is a need in those circumstances. And so this resource will be used directly to support the Red Cross's efforts in those areas to get people back to a basic standard of living. Coming out of the news, one of the major areas of devastation is just housing, that many people have been left homeless. So that I believe that a significant amount of the resources will be used for basic amenities, food items, and then also for housing supplies.
Yeah. Now, I love the idea of, and it's right there, it was on your flyer, help us help the Caribbean. And we are so interconnected with other Caribbean countries. We share, and I tried to explain to people when the hurricanes were coming, their infrastructure is so similar to ours, with the tin roofs in most places, tin roofs and wooden homes, and so we can, when we see the devastation that is there, it's something that we could imagine in our worst nightmares taking place in Belize. What has the feedback been like so far with other agencies that you work with as a representative of the City Council, in how they have been able to use all the disaster planning that always takes place to help to start the process of getting back on their feet?
It's been pretty good. I think one of the things that we need to look at, though, and this is a story for the Caribbean, small island developing states, and also for Belize, it's the level to which and the quickness to which we can bounce back as a result of a natural disaster. So that when you look at something like this, a hurricane taking out an island like Dominica, you have total interruption in basic services. I mean, you're speaking about basic needs, food and housing. Those are the immediate concerns. But from a emergency management standpoint, you want to get things back to daily operations. I remember that when we were dealing with our hurricane in last November, one of the things that you're looking at is clearing away the debris from the streets. You're looking at getting electricity back. You're looking at getting water back. You're looking at even something, because again, to what extent could people stay out of a job for an extended period of time? So one of the focus in terms of these islands is getting back the tourism industry, getting back basic economic activities ongoing, so that you can, as much as possible, enable people to get back to a normal life, as much as that can be done in a hurricane effort. So that I suspect that everything is a pressing issue right now in these small islands, particularly because you have so many challenges coming to you at one instance, but again, you have to deal with the basic needs of people. How many people are in shelters? How many people need the provisions from the state in terms of food on a daily basis? And as the weeks go by, they go back into a normal existence. But again, you need resources to do that, and a significant effort. I mean, I was even taken aback because I heard the Prime Minister of Dominica speak, and it actually was a moving presentation that he gave, just talking about his community. And I believe I read this, that he himself, his family had to be evacuated. So that
his roof flew off in the middle of the storm.
That tells you that when you're dealing with a disaster, every single person, especially a community like that that's so small, every single person is affected. And Marlene, you mentioned the idea of connectivity. This could have very easily happened to Belize. And I know that when we suffer disasters, because again, I'm part of the NEMO structure and CEMO, we know that we repeatedly and immediately get assistance from the Caribbean, from Mexico, from Central America, and so that it is our obligation, I think, as a community, as a nation, that we would assist those in need. One of the things I also want to highlight is I'm familiar with, in San Pedro, they did disaster relief last week to aid the victims of the earthquake in Mexico. The reality is that, as you have said, we're so interconnected, and when one person suffers, all of us suffer. One of the things that because it's not only Dominica, it's not only Antigua and Barbuda, but Belizean families in the region have been affected. Jamie, you know that a lot of Belizeans study in the Caribbean. We have a lot of agencies. We belong to CARICOM, so our personnel work there. We have families, so that it's a very close affinity, and we need to do our part. And so we're asking everyone in the community to make a pledge. We've made it very easy in terms of the pledges, so that there's a sub-account at Belize Bank, which is a sub-account of the Bar Association that has been designated to receive funds. And if I could just indicate the account number, it's Belize Bank account number 695-0111-081261. So that's Belize Bank.
Say it again and we'll try to get it down.
695-0111-081261. So that we're asking any persons, and even at the Belize City Council, because we've designated an individual, Charlene McDonald, to be a person who will be receiving pledges even from today, and we've already received 3 pledges. So that we're asking people, if you can call the Belize City Council, the number is 227-3073 or 227-2308, and you can make your pledges, or you can make your pledges on the day of the event itself.
What's the goal for the telethon?
We actually want to raise $200,000. We know that that is a lofty goal, but it's a significant amount of need that is there, and I think as a community we can raise that, so that we are bringing together all of these organizations to show a unified face. The Council of Churches, the Evangelical Association, the Love Foundation, the Bar Association, the Caribbean Association of Judicial Officers, and the Belize City Council working together hand in hand. We know that there's a lot of other relief efforts, so that we don't want to derogate from those as well. But I believe that there has to be a central activity, so that even though we have these organizations coming together, we have a lot of support from other agencies. And a telethon is a very quick way, it's very easy. All you have to do is make your pledges and give your funds, and all of the resources will be channeled through the Red Cross to go directly to relief efforts in those affected islands.
And I think timeliness is key, because in a situation like this, there are aftermath effects that happen as a result of the hurricane. Like
lots of health concerns.
Yes, like I know in Puerto Rico there's an outbreak of leptospirosis because of the excess debris and excess water and people dying, and then there's no way to. So it's definitely important that if you don't want to wait until the 21st or 25th to make the pledge, you can make it from now.
And with online banking, it's so much easier too. So you could just transfer over to the bank account. Let's get it one more time so we can get the number up on the screen as well.
So the pledges can be made to Belize Bank, account number 695-0111-081261. And you can call the Belize City Council, Charlene McDonald, at 227-3073 or 227-2308. So that we're actually making it very easy, because of course there's a Belize Bank in every district of the country, so that you can just make your pledges there. We're also coordinating with the various municipalities in the cities and towns, so that you can make your pledges there again, because again we want to raise as much money as possible.
You know, I think oftentimes, and I'm glad that you pointed it out, we don't live in isolation, and while people will say, things hard, it is important that we are able to help out, because while we may not notice, when we are trying to recover from any disaster, it's our Caribbean brothers and sisters very often that will reach out first to be able to offer whatever they can to be able to help us through it.
No, I mean, something as simple as receiving a letter of support. I again remember in November of last year, I mean, that was a Category 1 or Category 2 hurricane. It wasn't major destruction in Belize. We were able to bounce back relatively early.
We still had 1 week no electricity. That was hard.
We got support from Chetumal, we got support from Mexico, we got support from Central America, and immediately the Caribbean came in. We also got support from many international agencies. So as a country, you have many friends, and you have to ensure that you reciprocate, so that when when disaster happens in other parts of the world, especially those parts of the world that you have close affinities with, it is your obligation as a nation to make sure that you assist. And this is what the idea of the Telethon is all about.
So it takes place on the 21st, right?
On the 21st from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And so if you want to come out, there will be entertainment going on all across.
It'll be at the Bliss.
It's going to be at the Bliss, so that we will have different types of activities there. We're also planning to have people at various roundabouts during the day collecting funds.
Okay.
You'll have people identified by T-shirts, so that you can, we're having multiple areas so that it's very easy for you to make your pledge, so that you can actually call in. And we're encouraging people to call in, and we will send somebody to pick up your pledge, or you can bring your pledge into the Bliss Institute during that day, or you can give to one of the municipalities or into the account or into these various persons who will be at the roundabout. But we are asking people to give generously.
Yeah. And even organizations and companies can do their own little pooling of resources for one donation on the day itself.
I know one of the things that Reverend Papalut, who is on the, Bishop, who is on the planning committee, one of the things that they're doing is that within certain schools in the Methodist district, they're doing a collection, so that if you give 25 cents as a young person, that's something that will alleviate suffering and hardship for somebody who you may not even know. I know that several churches are taking up special collections. One of the things that we are doing at the City Council is that we're giving a gift of $5,000, so that out of the salary of every counselor, there's going to be a deduction that is made, and then the council itself will match that, so that it's not public funds that we are giving, but you're actually giving giving a donation, and we're going to pledge that on the day, and we're actually encouraging other municipalities likewise to do that. So if you're a business, if you are a family, if you're a school, whatever organization, you can contribute to this effort in any way that you can.
Okay. And any other details we need to share about the upcoming telethon?
We're just asking people to give as generously as possible. And again, it is to raise funds directly to aid the relief effort. We are promoting the fact that 100% of the funds that are being raised will go directly to the Red Cross, and that's the easiest way for us to transmit resources directly to Barbuda, directly to Dominica, directly to the other islands that have been affected. And we know that the Belizean heart is a very loving and warm heart. We're friendly people. We may not necessarily have significant amount of resources, but whatever we have, I know that we can give. I know that we can give generously.
Yeah. I think we found that Belizeans always step up to offer assistance to other people. We're just caring in that manner, and we hope that they'll be able to give generously as well as these countries. It's not just a Category 2 storm that passed through. These in the example of Barbuda, for example, they're wiped out, and they need to start back from scratch.
Well, I kind of was surprised, because you have this issue of one hurricane, and then 2 weeks later, some of the same islands have been affected by a similar disaster, probably not to the level of degree of the first hurricane, but this is something that is a humanitarian effort. I know they're getting a lot of resources, but we have that obligation to give as well.
And very clearly, it can happen to us as well. Mayor Bradley, when we look at how quickly and catastrophic how quickly these storms formed and how strong they were. We still have a month and a half more to go in the hurricane season. What is the state of preparedness that we have, and how much do you take into account the severity of the storms for the season so far?
One of the things that we've noticed is that the storms, and we believe that this is as a result of climate change, they are increasing in frequency and severity, so that you're noticing more Category 4 and Category 5 storms. People in the public may not even have noticed this, but we were alert over the weekend because of Hurricane Nate, which just passed by Belize, that originated off the Nicaraguan Honduran coast, and that went right across the entire length of the country, luckily over the ocean, and then it went up north. But that could have quite easily diverted. We had some impact in Belize, but we have to always in the season remain at a state of readiness and alert. And people again may not realize that even for heavy rains, we have to open shelters, we have to have our disaster efforts available, so that those people who are in need are able to get resources. One of the things too that I would like to add is there seems to be a significant correlation between hurricane, disaster impact, and poverty, because we repeatedly see that it's the same amount of people in Belize who get affected time in and time again, those people in Gongolong. So that there's while we must plan in terms of emergency relief, we also have to be more strategic to look at things like housing planning. We have to look at where people build in Belize. We have to look comprehensively at how we deal with people who are most vulnerable, because it's the persons who are most vulnerable who are affected time and time again by a hurricane. And every single year since I've been mayor, we have had to activate the Emergency Operations Center every single year. So every single year we have had some form of threat as a result of natural disaster, maybe a tropical storm, or in 2 cases a hurricane, and this is something
or even just the
change.
floods 2 years ago, was it? In October, which was just constant rain over one weekend, and we were completely flooded.
We've talked about this quite a bit, because as a coastal community we're quite vulnerable, and we're seeing this in the Caribbean. Those countries, Dominica, Antigua and Barbuda, the other countries who are affected, those countries are particularly vulnerable because it is so small, and it is a significant threat of climate change and your ability as a nation to really bounce back. Some of those countries may not come back within 5-10 years in terms of their economy, in terms of, you look at something like that, when a hurricane comes, it wipes out your agricultural sector, so that your GDP goes down, that causes more poverty and hardship. It's a significant,
So I think it's a lesson that we can learn from, just seeing what they have been going through, how they will recover, but most importantly, we have our part to play in helping them as well. So the telethon takes place on the 21st, which is next Saturday, at the Bliss from 9 to 5. And of course, it is a joint effort, and you're really asking people to just show their support on that day.
And then again, you can show your support from today. You can give your pledges to the Belize City Council, Charlene McDonald, or you can go to the Belize Bank and you can deposit your pledge directly into the account. Or again, on the day of the event, you can come out and show your support by giving your pledge on that day, on the 21st.
Okay. Well, Mayor Bradley, thank you very much for stopping in and telling us about the telethon, and we hope that people will be very generous in showing their support.
Thank you very much, always.
All right. We're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be joined by representatives of Digicel to talk about their latest promotion. So stay tuned.